HR Certification Center commits to a higher standard. HR Certification Center commits to a higher standard.
Welcome to today's edition of HR Roundtable, brought to you by the HR Certification Center. I am Silas Nyamekye, and I'm excited to be your moderator for today's discussion. So today's topic is one that sits on the hearts of many organizations. And this is connecting leadership with people-driven productivity. Now, before we get into the discussion, I would like to hear from you. Let us know where you are connecting to us from. So you can put it in the comment section. If it is Akosia from Kaswa, if it is Silas from East Legon, just let us hear from you. Let's know where you are joining us from. All right. I'm getting a few people in the comment section. Hello, Abna. Hope you are doing well. Nice to see you. It's always good. I realize you always join our webinars. It's good to connect with you again. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Now more than ever, we are being challenged to rethink what leadership actually looks like. So we have come to understand leadership to be more than just strategy, but leadership now looks at engaging people, empowering them, and elevating them to do the best work possible. Today, I'm being joined by two great and incredible thought leaders, and they are here to help us to unpack this deep discussion. My first panel is in the person of Ebow, Nyamekye, Allen-Koufie. Now, Ebow is a senior HR professional who is dedicated to assisting young people or young individuals in making informed career decisions. Ebow is a product of Infantipim in Cape Coast, and he is a certified senior HR professional, SPHRI, by the HR Certification Institute, USA. He holds an executive MBA in HR management from the University of Ghana Business School, and he is also a member of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Ghana. He holds a certificate in leadership and strategy from the Institute of Leadership and Strategy. And in addition to all his HR expertise, Ebow is an active public speaker, a career coach, and an event host. Ebow, it's nice to have you. Welcome to today's discussion.
Thank you very much, Silas. It's good to be here. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Loud and clear, Ebow. Very, very loud and clear. And thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you too.
Okay, so I'll take this opportunity to invite our next panel. Our next panel is Mary-Ann Ocansey. Now, Mary she has a combined experience of over 25 years in banking and human resource management. In the last 10 years, she has solely worked in HR and as an HR generalist. She holds an MBA in human resource management, and she's a certified senior professional in human resource international. She is currently the senior HR manager for CBCIL, and she provides shared service for its subsidiaries in telecom services. She has a passion for people development with special focus on young people aspiring for leadership. She's a mentor for the HR mentorship program, which is run by the HR Certification Center. And she has been married for 21 years and is blessed with supportive family. Mary-Ann, welcome to today's discussion. Hi, Marie. Can you hear us?
Hello, Silas. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Okay, welcome to today's discussion. Before we jump into the discussion, today is
Ebow,
Thursday.
can you hear me?
Yes, Marie, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I was saying before we jump into today's discussion, today is a Thursday, and I want to hear from our panelists. How has the week been, and how is everything? How
Ebow,
is
can you hear me?
Oh, I think Marie might be having a challenge with her network.
Yeah, Marie, we can hear you loud and clear.
Silas, I can hear you. So I've turned my camera off.
All right. We can hear you too now. Okay, so Ebow, as I like to call you, Uncle Ebow. How has your week been? How has everything been so far?
Oh well, so I'm the type of person who takes one day at a time. The week has been good. Hoping to end with a bang tomorrow, where we dedicate time for family and other social activities. And this week has been quite good. Yeah, very meaningful conversations with colleagues, with supervisors, way forward as to what can be done and all for the organization, for individuals within it, and all. That's how the week has been. Yes.
It sounds like your week has been very, very interesting and very proactive.
Yeah. It has been interesting. Yeah.
That's nice. And how about you, Marie? How has your week been so far?
Hi, gentlemen. Good evening, and good evening to our audience. I hope you can hear me now. My week has been a roller coaster. You know, we are entering into June, and this year in particular has been rough. The first few months, it's been back to back. When you have new projects coming up, and then you have to deal with recruitment and everything in between. So it's been quite hectic, but fulfilling at the same time. So yeah, I'm glad the week is ending.
We are all glad the week is ending. It's very, very good. Okay, so I would like to kick off today's discussion with a quote. And if my executive director is on the line, she might charge me for this because it's something she says a lot. Now, she says that great leaders don't just manage tasks, They unlock people's potential and drive systems to deliver results. Great leaders don't just manage tasks, they unlock people's potential and drive systems to deliver results. I'll take Ebow. Ebow, what do you think about this quote?
Like I said, I think we should take some money and go and give it to the executive director. that's a very powerful quote. Look, and it's not because I'm in HR. I've always believed that to call yourself a leader or a leader, even in the first place, is somebody who can identify a potential and say, okay, I've seen Silas, I can see this is where Silas will end, and I'm going to do everything possible to ensure Silas get to this place that I see him getting into. So whatever support, whatever ideas, counseling, coaching I need to give to Silas to get him there. Okay, then once Silas get there, then I feel proud that I've been able to kind of transform somebody's life from one level to the other. So indeed, I think I'll agree with your director for that quote, and probably pay her for coming up with that quote.
That's very good. Okay, so let's jump to the first question. Marie, I'd like to hear from you. To you personally, what does leadership to you, what does it mean? Leadership in people-driven productivity. We see a lot of people preaching people first, people first, people first, so many times in the workplace. But personally, as an HR who has been in the field for so long, what does leadership have to do with people-driven productivity in today's corporate environment?
Okay. I think I had to put on my video. I hope at least it will be a bit stable. Ebo, can you hear me? Just let me know if you don't hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear, Maria. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Silas. Okay, so I think that leadership in a people-driven environment is the leadership that focuses on employee recognition, and understanding that our employees are our main assets, and that it is not just about driving business success. It's about ensuring that we are engaging them, making them the priority, and letting them know that with a sort of value that we bring to them at any point in time. So it's not just business as usual, just looking at your bottom line, but more about ensuring that the employee feels valued, feels listened to, feels that he's part of a team and can form part of the collaboration to drive the business needs. Yeah.
Wow. So we are talking about how employees can feel like they are a priority in the organization. So a follow-up, and I'd like Ebo to touch on it. So when you are looking at making employees feel like they are a priority, as a leader, how can you balance strategic goals with employee well-being?
Okay, so let me even start from here. Traditionally, every
Yes.
organization will say, okay, people are our greatest assets. They write it on their websites and their brochures and everything. But really, on the ground, sometimes it's a bit different. Now, employee-driven leadership is more about more like flipping the coin, flipping the script. That even though we are talking about employees are greatest assets and all, normally at the back of our heads, we're talking about revenue, we're talking about profitability, we're talking about bottom line. But we are flipping the coin to say that since if we say employees are greatest asset, then indeed they are greater. So we are bringing the employees first. There is something that we learned during our leadership course at ILS. And Jeff was explaining, he didn't use a pyramid, but eventually I decided to use as a pyramid. That you have employees, you have customers, and you have your bottom line, your revenue, profitability, and all. If you don't get your employees right, if you don't get the issue with employees very right, then forget about strategy, forget about business growth, forget about whatever bottom line target that you set for yourself. Because it's the employee who will now treat your customers well, who will now buy and even do a repeat buying for your business goals to be achieved. So if you are not getting them right, then of course you can't be able to achieve your target. That's one. Now, number two, why it is even important for business leaders to even find a way to balance this, to ensure that these things work together, not focus on one entity, because of course we are talking about people, so we'll talk about people, but we also have to remember that we are in business to make money, business to make profit. One of the reasons I believe so strongly that that has to happen is that whilst you're focusing on your business growth, business development and all, what we forget sometimes is that we have to grow the people with the business to a certain point where whilst the business has grown, we have individuals who have the capabilities to be able to lead the business. Oftentimes, we grow the business, we grow our objectives, and then forget about the people. So when we need individuals to sit at the top, we don't have people within. We have to go and bring people from outside. If you want to really balance this, then it has to be growth on both sides. Whilst we look at the business, we also look at the people side as well. Maybe the last I want to add is about giving people meaningful work. As your business grow, as you set a business objective and a business target, get people involved. Let them know that this is where we are going, and this and this, or these are your contribution towards achieving this, and then find a way to track them. Let me pause it so that Marie can also add if she has anything to add.
Okay.
Yeah, Ebow, I just want to add to the bit about also developing your employees as you go along, because like you said, if the business grows and the people haven't grown in terms of their skill sets and things like that, and you have to bring people externally to come and lord it over them as it were, when they have been loyal, they have stayed and seen you through the teething times, okay? And then you have now grown to the point where you can actually maybe poach talent, if I should put it in quotes.
Yeah.
Then they will feel slighted. And then that productivity that you are expecting, you will not get. So it's important that we develop them, groom them along, and making them a part of the decision making, the collaboration, like Ebow said. If they feel a part of it, they feel a part of the growth plan, they feel that, oh, my employer actually is seeing me here in the next 3 to 5 years, then it also motivates them. It kind of energizes them also to give of their best. And you can also do that by ensuring that you are giving them the necessary value. If they understand the priority, that they are the priority, they will give you the best that they have, whether the times are good or not. So I think I absolutely agree with Ebow here. Thanks, Silas.
Wow. So from what Ebow and Marie you are saying, I'm getting the understanding that with companies focusing on getting results and then getting revenue, you should still develop your talent to a point where they grow together with the organization. But I feel most leaders or most managers, and we've seen this many times, but they do it just for people to feel like we are actually doing something. They are not necessarily doing anything sustainable. So I want to find out, how do you ensure that people during leadership, it's not just performative, it's not just an act, it's not just something you are doing to deceive people, but it is sustainable in your organization? I'd like Ebow to take it first, then I'll come to Marie.
All right, that's fine. So the truth of the matter is that we can only, how do I even put it? We can only advise, encourage leaders to actually pick up this modern style of leadership where you get your people involved. But one of the ways that this can happen is when we tire people, whether call it analytics, people issues as parts of the performance metrics of our leaders, to the extent that I want to remember which of the places I have worked. There was, as part of the manager's KPI, there was a portion about people development. How many people have you worked on, coached, mentored for them to be promoted into different roles and taking a responsibility within the organization? Talking about internal mobility. I'm trying so hard to remember, but it was there. And I think there was a score. So you can do everything that you want to do, achieve your profitability, achieve your revenue target. If that aspect as a manager, you are not able to do that, then you are failing. Number two, I think that even at maybe even beyond the CEOs and the board, on CEOs and an executive level, maybe the board should even come in here, where there are certain specific KPIs for managers all across, for them to be able to achieve. And not only that, but always coming back to come and check. So for example, if CEOs who goes to the board to go and say, we want to recruit the next so and so, the first question the board is asking, who have you groomed internally to take over this role? Once we have these two things happening, I'm sure that it won't just be an eye service or lip service, but indeed managers will be held accountable and they will do what is needed to be done.
Wow. But Ebow, a follow up. When maybe a department comes to the board and then they want to suggest us finding a replacement for someone in a certain position, and the board is focused on who you are grooming from within. Okay.
Yeah.
This is to say that the people-driven leadership should start directly from the executive level, if I'm right.
Of course, you see, so for everything that happens in the organization, if you don't have executive buy-in, then nothing will actually work within the organization. So it has to start from there. They believe in that, we've been chasing profits over all these years. Why don't we flip the coin and now focus on grooming our people and ensuring that once we sort out the people's issue, we will be able to get our profitability and revenue to the levels that we want. So surely it has to start from the top.
Okay. Now, Marianne, leaders usually focus on revenue and then returns. So if we are advocating for the executives or the board to focus on people-driven productivity, how are we able to measure the impact of these kind of initiatives in our organizations? Hello, Marie.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I think that some of the key ways we can do this will be through employee engagement. The results from these employee engagements and then the service that we have would be one of the key areas that we can measure how successful the leadership is, having introduced this style of leadership. Another aspect is also to ensure that we promote we encourage employee feedback. And it's not just about getting the feedback, but ensuring that whatever feedback they are giving us, we are working with it and ensuring that we are meeting the needs of the employees. That way, we can also ensure employee retention. It's one of the key metrics that we can also use to measure how effective this style of leadership is. I think these are the two main things I would like to proffer. Thank you.
Okay. Ebow, would you want to touch on it?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there's something I learned when I joined Deloitte about stay interviews. At some point, talking to people about what are we doing right that is making you stay or make you want to go the long haul with us. So the service Marie mentioned about solid, you get all the information. But I found that very useful because now people tell the story behind just ticking boxes or choosing between variables. Now they are telling their own story. And what I've even found interesting, even of late, where I am, when people are leaving, I'm engaging them and then they're telling me how they started as national service persons, how they've been part of all the projects and all. And then this is where it becomes important or interesting to me. They are leaving because they feel they've built up so much knowledge, so much expertise that they are now taking higher responsibilities where they are going. So it's no longer about they running away from their culture, being toxic or being negative. They know and understand that the company really thinks well of them, but just that they have opportunity for growth somewhere. That's why they are leaving. And that's what I want to add. That qualitative storytelling conversations we have with people as a follow-up to having done the surveys, having ensured that your net promoter score is very high. I remember that the last survey we did, there's a question around if you are given the same salary, same compensation, are you willing to leave? I mean, Silas, if I ask you that question, what would you say? If people choose that, even if you are giving me the same, if somebody is giving me the same, I will stay. Then of course that means you are doing something right. But if they say, "Oh, you," even if I have a reduction in the salary, I'm bouncing. Then of course you have issues with your people focus initiatives or people focus leadership. Yeah.
So to touch on what you were saying, during our HR certification trainings, there's one story that usually goes around where we say that people don't leave organizations, they usually leave their managers.
Yeah.
And yes, and I want to find out, can middle managers actually be empowered in a certain way where they can encourage or they can lead people-driven organizations or teams in their place? Is it possible to do that in their workplaces?
Don't want me to take that or Marie comes in?
Okay, Ebow, you can take it. Then we listen to what Marie also has.
Okay, so for me, the issue about middle managers, I think even the title we give them, middle managers, is problematic for me. Problematic because people don't usually pay attention to things in the middle. we don't only pay attention to things in the middle. So you have a first born, you have a last born. People focus on the first, but the first one must make it so that the rest can follow. Then maybe last will come, and all of a sudden,
I'm taking offense.
I'm taking offense. The middle is already forgotten. Secondary school is there. Form 3s are being trained, and we are focusing on them to go and write their WASI. But meanwhile, the Form 1s just came green hot. We need to help them settle. We carry the same mentality to the workplace. So we focus any change, anything that we are doing, we focus on the executive buy. Once executive buys in, then let's go and implement. Sometimes the first time the line managers, branch manager, I work in the financial institution, so branch managers, head of departments are hearing about the change will be when HR senior management have gone to the branch and discussing the change initiative. Then when you are done, you expect them to implement. Of course, they that is where they will begin to say, they say we should. If you don't involve them right from the word go, I can assure you, on the ground, you will not get their support. So the empowerment is very key. How do you do the empowerment?
Okay.
Don't just box them together with everybody else. Give them time. Ask for their opinion. Ask for their input of everything that is going to happen. I'll give you a typical example. I don't know whether it was Republic Bank or maybe one of these places that I work. We are doing a cultural change, and then they selected change champions and all those people. They were supposed to lead and effect change in the branches and all. They came back to tell us that, God, we have to call their branch managers and talk to them because it's the branch managers who are giving them wahala. Why? Because the branch managers who are middle managers have been forgotten in the entire process. the point I'm making, maybe we should think about changing the name line managers to whatever it is we want to change. But anything that has middle attached to it are often ignored. So really, if we really want this to work, then of course we will have to focus on the middle and ensure that we get their buy-in as well, and then give them what it takes to implement. Last one is also sometimes when you give people some kind of power without any authority, or authority without any power. So they have the posts. They can say A, B, C, and D, but if somebody challenges them, they don't have the response. Somebody challenges, they can't sanction, they can't even promote. Whatever it is, they have to land up with somebody else. Then once these things happen, then you can't say you are empowering them to take charge and to lead in anything that will be beneficial to the organization.
Wow. But Ebow, you were talking about empowering the middle managers and then pushing them to be able to actually do the people-driven leadership that we are talking about.
Yeah.
But what are some practical steps? Let Marie take this one. What are some practical steps that we can put in place as leaders to ensure that our middle managers feel inclusive in decision making and this kind of leadership moves that we want to make in our workplaces?
Okay, thank you, Ebow. And it's funny, I like your observation about the middle always being left behind. And I think it's because of that. Now I think the language or the communication has become about extended leadership. And so I think we were kind of introduced to that when instead of just limiting it to the top, you brought it down the next level, the people directly under the HODs and unit heads. So they actually formed what we call the middle management. And so they also felt they were part of the decision-making process. And so we had strategy sessions where it was for extended leadership, and people in this middle bracket were part of it. So like Ebow said, they then bought into the ideas because honestly, they are the ones on the ground going to implement your strategies. And having felt part of that leadership meeting, it was easy for them to trickle down the information and get their people to work. So it's very important that we give them the training, because we have to remember that it's like adolescents. They are on the brink of adulthood, just going into the next phase, which will be senior management. And sometimes, and I think, Ebow, you would bear me up when I said, occasionally at that level, sometimes you had to probably even step in for your boss in the boardroom. And if you were not ready, imagine how you felt. And so it's important that practically we have to be intentional about grooming them. Imagine having a workforce of over maybe 2,000. That middle management is a huge chunk of your resource, and you need to equip them and actually empower them so that they become the first point of call. So they are the same people grooming the junior staff and then maybe upcoming. They have to have some their responsibility, or they have to have some power to go with that responsibility that you have given them. But you need to have trained them. And so practically or intentionally, you have to make sure that anybody moving from maybe junior manager position into the next level of leadership, they were trained properly. How to manage people, how to emotional intelligence, all these soft skills, make sure that. And then it made your work as HR easier. The point where when they escalate, you can pick it up and then you can take a final decision on. So we need to be intentional about grooming them well, training them well, giving them the soft skills. Sometimes some of them have the technical skills, but they don't have the people management skills. And previously, we thought that these people management skills came with age and experience. It comes with experience, but you need to teach them, because now we have more younger people rising faster on the corporate ladder. It's not like previously where you waited to be 60 before you became MD. We have MDs and even presidents as young as 30, 35. And so the question is, if somebody as young as 35 could be an MD of a whole bank, and you have your middle management maybe falling within that bracket, it meant that you needed to be able to groom them and make sure that you had your succession plan well mapped out, because these are the same people who will move over to that next level. So then you need to be intentional about training them and preparing them for that leadership role. Thank you.
So,
Silas, if I may add something very, very, very briefly about the last parts that I spoke about. The issue about even their appointment, like she mentioned, I mean, I say it in my class all the time, that I sometimes feel that managers or executive management appoint individuals into these roles simply because of their technical ability. And unfortunately, we don't train them that now you are a manager, you are like the quote that your director mentioned. You are managing the people to get to the systems and everything to get the work done, and not necessarily they themselves coming to do the work. So there are times you get middle managers who, because all they know is the technical skills that they have. So even they'll be competing with their staff on the execution, instead of ensuring that is able to groom them, coach them, mentor them to do the right thing. I just thought I should chip in that.
But you know, based on what you just said and what Marianne said, there are managers, just as you said, they are more focused on the tactical things, more rather than the strategic aspect, and then focusing on delivering the results.
Yeah,
and they end up fighting with their those that are reporting to them for what they have to do. And most of these people don't actually know that this is what they are doing. And I'm a bit confused. And for our listeners, so how are you going to identify, maybe for instance, if there's a line manager in your organization and you are also a line manager, so they are your colleague, how are you going to communicate something like this? How do you help them to identify that what they are doing is actually stifling the growth of their direct reports or the people who are reporting directly to them? So, Ebow, you can touch on that.
No, my research started now. I'm dodging this one.
Why are you dodging this one? Okay, Silas. So I think that it's important that when we give people responsibility, they I've mentioned training. We cannot say that enough, but they need to have been oriented into the role. I always say that you can't give what you do not have. Now, that is why some organizations have properly established mentorship programs where you actually, as an executive, you have 2 or 3 people down the line who you are mentoring, so that and these are people you've probably identified as your talent that you want to groom into the next level. It doesn't just happen. The people having the technical skill doesn't just make them savvy in the other soft areas. And we are realizing more and more now that the soft skills are are the things that are actually driving productivity at the end of the day. That leader or that branch manager, because he understands his role as the lead, you realize that he's willing for his team members to shine, to even take the awards. But at the end of the day, you realize that because he has taken the pains to coach them, to groom them to the level that he wants, to be able to make sure that he gets the productivity that he needs, at the end of the day, they would win the laurels, but they'll bring it back to him. He doesn't need to. So like what Ebow said, that issue of competing with the people who you are supposed to have mentored and groomed, coached along the way, it won't even come up. If we are not intentional about preparing people for leadership, we will keep having these issues coming up. So that will be my take on that. Ebow, now you can run.
That's also my take on that. I mean, you've said it. You've said it perfectly. Except that I think that you're also asking if, as HR, what would you do? I think that because we're the custodian of the training budget, custodian of ensuring that the right culture is in place and all. It's also our responsibility that when we hear some of these things, to be able to speak to these line managers and help them understand some of these. And I'll give you a typical example. I went to a particular branch, one of the branches that I worked with, and then I saw this manager who was almost doing everything. The simple question I asked is that if you are not here today, what's going to happen? Wouldn't you want to be able to take leave, switch off your phone, and you will have the assurance that you have individuals within the organization who will let things run without necessarily bothering you? And in fact, that was the first time this person has actually thought about it from the angle I came from. And I asked him, can you also imagine that you're able to leave, somebody manages the branch and all, you come back, everything is on point. Now management even begins to identify these individuals you leave behind. And they said, oh, this Silas is doing very well with the branch. As a result, we can easily appoint somebody else to become the next brand manager, this and that and that. And then I said, oh, wow. So that was the approach. And then all of a sudden he said, okay, I think that I'm going to take all that you have said into consideration and begin to give some. Now, he said, I am going to teach them how to do the work such that if I'm not around, why about this looking at his special interest? If I'm not around, they will not bother me. That has always been my approach. How you can position the conversation for the person to feel that, oh, there is something in it for me. And then right from that, those individuals will be able to do what they need to do. But like Marie said, the bottom line is before the appointment is done, make sure you groom them and train them. When you go to some of the big fours, what they do is before you become a manager, assistant manager, or you are given a team to manage, you go for new managers training program where you are taught what to do, how to handle meetings, how to deal with difficult people, because sometimes you are promoted from amongst them, how to even deal with people previously where your colleagues, now you are managers, how to deal with all of that. So it's important we focus on grooming these individuals. So we avoid some of the things that I have mentioned and Maria has mentioned earlier.
You mentioned something that really, really caught my attention. You said, if you are not here today, what will happen? And I feel it will be something most of our audience here will take home with them. And as leaders and managers in our workplaces, even as leaders, I think we should work with a perspective of influencing the people who are reporting to us, so that if we are elevated to a different position, we don't have to come back to do what we were doing. This is a very, very good takeaway. Now, you mentioned positioning the conversation so that the people know what is in for them. I feel there are many misconceptions out there about people-driven leadership that most managers have. We think that maybe doing A and B or C means that you are a people-driven leader. But what are some of these misconceptions that come to mind that you feel we should put aside and focus on doing the job itself and getting the results that we are looking for in the workplace? I'll let Marie touch on it first, then I'll come to you. Okay.
I think one of the misconceptions would be that is a soft style of leadership, coming down to the people's level, engaging with them, ensuring that you are meeting their needs. That is one of the biggest misconceptions.
Marie, can you take it again? Okay, I think Marie is having challenges with her network. Okay, Ebow, let's hear from you. When she comes back, then we.
Okay. So I think she was talking about the fact that one of the biggest misconceptions is that people think that it's a soft. Once you want to involve people and all those things in decision making and all those things, then you are not a very strong leader. You don't know where you are, but that's why you're asking a lot of people. So and indeed, she's very right. It's one of misconceptions. Other people also think that it's very slow because when you want to go and ask everybody's opinion before you decide on the direction. Of course, people can even derail you. Let me give an example of this. I remember many years ago, Reverend Steve Mensah of SEM, Charismatic Evangelism Ministry, told a story about where the church is located now, at where they are not Legon, that the land was given to them by Archbishop Duncan Williams. And the time I they were in a school, worshiping in a school or something like that. So he came back and told the people, "Oh, Charlie, guys, this is what Archbishop has done for us. He's given us a land, blah, blah, blah. So we have to go and check it out." The people went to the land. It was some bush. They came back and told them that it was awful. If this is where you want to go, then please, you're on your own. We are not going. Interesting. He said that he went back to Archbishop to go and tell Archbishop, "Archbishop, thank you, but no thanks. My people say." Then they said,
Okay.
"Are you the leader or they are the leader?" Then he says that he come back and told them, "You people, I came to ask you for your opinion. You said you won't go. Now I am going, all of you. Let us go." You know, it slowed down the process, but eventually it worked. Those who went with him, look at him now. Everybody was saying that asking for opinions, involving people can be slow, can be costly, and all that. For me, one of the things, and problem wasn't even about all the things that we're discussing, it's about we have this inherent belief that human beings are not good, that we can't trust people, that no matter what happens, they I don't know how to say it in English, but Obama won't say no matter what will happen, they will disappoint, they will do this. So they will disappoint you. So we come to the world of work with that, not trusting anybody. And for me, that's the biggest misconception that and I always want to be different. I believe that the human being is inherently good. You need to put in the structures, you need to put in the systems just to make sure it brings out the best in them. And then also put sanctions that when they go out of what it is that they need to do, then there's a way to bring them back to track. But to go out there thinking that human beings are inherently bad, for me, and as a result, just go ahead and do what you need to do, for me, is a biggest misconception around putting people back into the business.
I quite remember there's one particular module in our training program, and you take it, Ebow Nyamekye, you take that module most of the time. Okay. And I remember one time you mentioned that someone might be coming from this particular ethnic group, this one might be coming from another ethnic group, and you all meet in one workplace, and you are expected to act the same way.
Yeah.
And that's why organizations set certain rules or regulations or policies for all of us to follow.
Exactly.
But what happens if the employee or the people who are reporting to you are not giving you the results you are looking for? What happens then?
Look, it's for me, it's very simple, and that's where HR people will think that I am not an HR person.
I'm not an HR.
Yeah, I don't believe in tolerating mediocrity. I don't believe in tolerating non-performance. Okay. If the sanction for non-performance is that people should go home, I believe so. People must go home for not performing. But I always say, before somebody will come and beg me that, "Oh, don't sack me and all those, don't fire me because of non-performance," What have I been able to do as a Nyamekye together with that person to ensure that we don't come back having that conversation? And I think that's where, for me, a lot of managers miss the point.
Okay.
Let's deal with all the issues and ensure that between January to June, I know whether you are firing or not. If you are not firing, we are having consistent conversation. I'm asking you, what else can I do to support you? I won't wait till June, where we are discussing that you didn't meet your target before. We are discussing whether you go home or not. Right from February, you should know that if you are not able to get your act together by June, you are going home. And it has to be very clear for everybody. But I also think that there are times it's not just about the individuals not firing. Maybe square pegs in round holes. That is not where they're supposed to be.
Okay.
And so we have to look at even all that. But even with that, I may be sounding contradictory in my submission. But even with that, I tell people, the fact that you are around and you have been put in a square hole doesn't mean that you can't chisel yourself. You can't use sandpaper to just to make sure you fit. That at the sight of the least challenge, they said, "Oh, I'm a square peg in round hole, so I'm leaving." No.
Hello, Ebow.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Salas, can you hear me? Hi, Salas. Can you hear me?
Hello, Ebow. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me? Hello, Silas.
Hello.
Yeah, Silas, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me? Hello, Silas. Silas. Yeah, but I think you are muted, so I can't hear anything you are saying.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
Good.
So I lost you at square shape in round holes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was saying that. So because of that, managers should look at that and see whether we can move people into the holes that they belong. And I was also saying that even you who have been put in the wrong hole, don't run at the sight of the first challenge. Maybe, just maybe, with a little bit of polishing, a little bit of chiseling, you'll be able to fit into the role. So don't just throw your hands and say, "Well, I'm in the wrong place, so move me." What can you do? Because I tell people that sometimes, those of you who are Christians and believe in God, I tell people that sometimes God places us at certain places to learn certain lessons. And until we have learned those lessons, your promotion will never come. You can't be in whatever hole you want to be. So make sure that you tried everything that you need to try. And if it's still not working, then have a conversation to move up. But until then, at least try and then see if you will succeed in there.
Okay. Marie, welcome back. So
Thanks.
So Ebow was just touching on the question of how to get people who are not delivering results to come back and they should follow track. So he suggested that he's not afraid of firing people, for lack of better words. But before you do that, you are supposed to find out if you have done everything possible as a manager or leader to make sure or ensure that the person has the necessary skills to deliver on results. Then, if they are still not complying, you can let them go. So I want to do a follow-up on that. But you realize that some people are just resistant to change. They are just focused on not responding to the new leadership style that you want to bring on board. So assuming you're a leader or a manager who wants to change from what you were doing and start being a leader who focuses on people productivity, how do you get these kind of people to follow your new model? I'll let Marianne touch on that before I come to Ebow.
I'm smiling. I'm laughing here because it's real. It happens. But one of the key things I remember learning when I joined HR is not to transfer the problem. And so you have a difficult staff or teammate to deal with. You will have to have those difficult conversations. And I think that sometimes or previously, in fact, we came from an orientation where your boss did your performance or your KPI, set the goals and told you this is what you are doing for the year. And sometimes you even had appraisals done in your absence. We have come a long way where HR has actually come down to train and engage first line managers and direct reports on how to have those conversations. It's important to have those conversations. And when you have a properly set up performance management system, these will come up because you should be having your quarterly meets, the one-on-ones. Ebow, am I still there? I think Silas has fallen off. Can you hear me, Ebow?
We can hear you.
Okay. You need to have the one-on-one engagement so that these difficult conversations that hitherto we would tuck away and then just throw to HR that this person is not performing. And yet throughout the year, you never had a conversation about his productivity or lack of. And then at the end of the year, you just throw it at his face or his or her face. Sometimes it may be because, and so that is where the people leadership is important. This person may not be in the right frame of mind, probably with issues at home. And so he comes into the office space and he's not delivering as you would expect. But because you haven't, as his leader or his manager, you haven't even taken the pains to find out whether this person is even in the right frame of, you don't even care. As long as you know, you just come, you back the orders and you expect the results. So when you're not getting the results, as far as you know, the next thing is show the person the door. And that is why Ebow is saying that you should have done everything possible. So now HR also is having those conversations. When you come and you say this person has not performed, you have to show evidence. Where is your evidence that I had this 3-month conversation, I had this 6 months, I had this consistent discussions have come up, and you have done everything possible to assist such a person. You have gone to the extent of even requesting training and so on, and the feedback even after training is still the same. At that point, it's easy for HR to put together the documentation and manage the person out properly through the process. So we all have a responsibility. And I think we've come a long way. And that is why we are having these conversations about leadership and people style leadership. Because if that person is the head and doesn't appreciate the team that he works with, he doesn't even care, he doesn't know. There are some teams where the manager does not even know where even 2 of his members live. These are basic things you would think, but it goes a long way to make the person feel what? Valued. It makes the person feel that my presence in this place is actually valuable to my manager, to my team players. And so it all works together, and it would play out eventually in the kind of results that you get at the end of the day. That's my take on this.
Okay. Ebow, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, no. So I think Maria said it all. But in terms of the resistance to even what we are talking about, you should know that if you don't demonstrate to senior management why, because for whatever they have been doing, probably is working for them. Every year they are meeting their revenue target, profitability target. All of a sudden you said, oh, you think that you should now consider people driven, people centered. Of course.
Exactly. Yes.
If you don't show any data that says that even somebody has done it and is working, of course, then nobody will will listen to. So you have to answer that question. What is in it for me? How will they be able to do both and still get the result that they need? And that's what I mentioned earlier, that managers should not just focus on building businesses. They also have to focus on building the people alongside. They can have individuals who can manage the businesses whilst it grows. That is what is in it for them.
Okay. So Marie touched on training them, and you touched on what is in for them.
Yeah.
So I think our time is almost up. So we'll just take a few questions from the our audience, from the comments section. Then we will just wrap up and we'll call it a day. But before we do that, let's take a quick word from our sponsors, the HR Certification Center, and then we will be back.
Why do 93% of the world's leading multinational companies prefer certified professionals? Because they tend to be committed to higher standards and ethics and maintain an informed intercultural competency. Whether you're seeking to build a career or to upgrade your HR professional career, you need to get trained and certified at the HR Certification Center today. Our experience in training and certifying HR professionals is unparalleled. We're trusted to offer a comprehensive portfolio of advanced professional credentials for the HR professionals worldwide, and today, more than 500,000 HR professionals worldwide in 125 plus countries proudly maintain our credentials as a mark of higher professional distinction. HR Certification Center. Call or WhatsApp today on 0244 122 855.
All right, so welcome back from the short break. So if you are an HR or a leader who manages people, this is for you. If you are looking to become an internationally certified HR professional, just call us on 0244 122 855, 0244 122 855, and we'll have a discussion with you on how to upskill and become a better HR practitioner. So we have a few questions, and because our time is up, I'll just take 4 of them. So the first one is from Gifty. Now, Gifty says that, how do you point the issue of stifling employee potential to your director when you are the HR manager? In this case, the potential of the employee is obvious to all. Okay, Marianne, I'll let you take this one.
Okay, if I understood the question right, they've identified, or the HR has identified talents, but the director doesn't identify the person yet. I think that it can be done practically. You can give that individual some expanded role or function to perform, or put him or her on a project with people at par with where you think that he should now be positioned, and let them work together as a team, and then use that opportunity to drive home the points. Because sometimes, like Ebow said, sometimes you can identify somebody has a skill, they themselves may not know it, and so you need that little push from somebody who you can trust, to tell you that I believe in you, I know you can do this, and then it will allow you to also position yourself to be seen as such. And so the HR's responsibility would be to do what we do best, be able to document that this person has this talent, but it has to be because the person is already in-house. They have to position the person or market the person to their leadership in this case. And you can do that by ensuring that you give this person stretch targets, or put them on a project where he will be seen, and then what he's bringing to the table is more visible to everyone. And then you can use the opportunity to get feedback from the people, the team members that he worked with on that particular project. And then you can put a report together for the director to see. most of the time, because they are not on the ground operationally with everyone else, it takes just that one opportunity to make that impact. So for instance, I shared that earlier, where maybe their line manager is not available and they take up a responsibility, or they are able to showcase themselves. But this person also needs to have been prepared, because sometimes these opportunities come, they may come, it would be so fleeting, but that is all you need. That 5 second, that what do we call that elevator pitch, okay? That interaction with that management person, to have the perception, or to be able to see you for what others have identified you for, and then to give you the opportunity to perform.
Okay.
So it has to be done very practically. Yeah.
So that is, as an HR or a leader, you're supposed to provide the person with the necessary platform for others to see the value in them, if I understand you, Marianne.
Yes, if it is possible, because I'm sure this person is referring to a particular employee, but
Yes,
maybe because of the nature of their business, and it depends on where the person sits in the executive chain. And so you feel that this person is about time maybe was moved to the next level. If you have a small a small employee base, but you want to be able to showcase that person, then it means that he may be in the visibility of the director, and so you need to be able to position him, and you can do this practically by giving him a role to make sure that he can deliver across.
Okay, thank you very much, Marianne. I think that was well executed. I'll let Ebow take the next question. So Bless is asking, how should an HR manager handle executives who tend to only appreciate the outputs of the pioneer staff, that is, those who started the organization, while underappreciating and undervaluing the new staff because they did not join the organization from scratch? Hey, actually, but this one, I've seen some before from somewhere.
In fact, I'll ask the person, say, interesting, yeah. I remember in my previous life, my former company, anytime we are doing staff awards, we normally will do those who have done milestone 10 years, 15 years, and all that. There's something I always say, that these are the men and women who have used their blood and sweat, their time, and some of them might have even sacrificed their building their family. There are some women who probably didn't even give birth, because at the time the company was small. They were doing everything to let the company thrive.
That's true.
Then 15 years later, you have come, and you think that all of a sudden you are the one who is the brightest, and also they should, of course. I mean, you look. There's a notion about me, bahache and all those things. That is there. We can deal with that. But I personally, I may be wrong, but I personally don't go competing with people who have been in the organization for a very long time for rise, for positions, and for certain things. Certain things may not necessarily even be a benefit for all staff, but sometimes they can give it to the individuals who have been there longer, simply because the person has paid a price that you have no idea. So find out, number one. Number two, maybe, just maybe, these individuals, like I said, have really, really, really helped the company to be where it is. And as a result, they have been given either limited responsibility and all that. But whatever they do, it seems to be the best, because the management is still remembering what they have done in the past. Now, in my opinion, forget about how the others are treated. Focus on what exactly you are also doing for you to be seen as somebody who just came, but also doing so great. There, Usually I said that I don't like anything about it. I started college, but their school song, before they start singing player, Santa Claus, and there are certain important words that they sing. They said, others have labored and we are enjoying their fruit. Let this song be worthy of singing again. So for me, instead of focusing on how others are treated and whether they are given the best bonuses and all those, focus on what the story will be, what story you are writing for the organization, such that when next 5 years somebody else come and sees that you are giving certain benefits and all, they won't come and say, why are they being treated nicer than I am? If you want to take it from, so that's for you, the individual. If you want to take it from the HR perspective, I mean, you can use policies to sometimes streamline some of these things. That as maybe when we're smaller, we could do some of this, but now that we have grown, we need to put in structures and then ensure that individuals get what they want. It doesn't matter when I came in; we should all be seen as equal and all that. So the policy can draft it very nicely, can help curtail that. But I'll always come back to you, the individual. What exactly you are also doing, just to make sure that for you to remember when other people join the organization later. That's what I would say, Cyrus.
But Uncle, don't you think someone will argue it is a bit unfair if, though I am performing my necessary duties, I'm not giving the necessary maybe compensation or appreciation for my work, only because someone started before I did? And maybe in an organization without a policy, as he stated clearly, how are you going to handle something like that?
Okay. Still to the individual, and that's why I come to people very strongly. When you were entering the organization, you don't negotiate your salary. You do ask that they should pay you a certain amount. If that's what you are being paid, please keep quiet and do your work. Make sure you honestly make sure you do your work. Why would you even go and compare yourself with other individuals who have been there? In any case, when you were going to that organization, you didn't give them your original certificate. You did photocopy and gave it to them. If you think you can't stand it, then make additional copies and then go somewhere. But now when you are going, remember that you're also going to meet people who have been there longer. They may be your junior, but they're taking higher. So learn how to negotiate and negotiate well. The truth is that we may not all of us get to work in a company that will be part of those who are starting. Okay. If you ask Marie, part of those who started HFC proper, I'm sure at some point I was even taking more salary than her, but she didn't complain. But the point I'm making is that there is no way I can go and complain that Marie, who was with HFC maybe 15, 18 years before I joined, I should go and compare and say that I should be paid the same as Marie. Of course, I'm doing my work and all, but I have to get that kind of respect, or that factor that she has paid her due. So maybe the payment that she's even being paid is not because of the work she's doing, is because she has been there longer. Number two, no, I know a company. Somebody I think started with the owner or the founder, and currently everybody who started with have left. It's just left with her. The man has said that, you know what, you have worked so hard, so within the week, if you want to take a day off, take a day off for contributing for the sustenance of this organization. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Wow. I think we should stop comparing and then rewrite our own stories within the organization. If eventually you are being paid as much as the old people, take it and enjoy. Otherwise, if you think you are not excited by what is happening, of course, you can always bounce. That's what I would say.
All right.
I don't know who has dropped off. What else? Okay.
I'm here. Thank you very, very much. I think it's been an insightful discussion. And based on your last submission, I feel some people will not agree, but you made a point that you did a photocopy when you were going to the organization. So
yes,
if you don't like where you are,
you only made copies. If you don't like, go and make additional copies.
Yes. Dr. Bassi always says that if you are in an organization and you've done everything possible and you just can't change things, you are not a tree. You can always move. So just feel comfortable. If you are not happy, you can make the change. But I think another very good example point that you made was that if there is a policy, it can regulate all these kind of things. So as HRs and managers, let's strive to put in place the necessary measures so that it does not raise any kind of discrepancy or misunderstanding between the people that we work with. Marie, it's very nice to see your face again. Okay.
Today,
Thank you very much.
technology has not favored us at all. Yeah, the weather, one of those things. Yeah.
So I'll take your closing remarks and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Marianne.
Okay, so let me go quickly before I fall off again. So I think it's been an insightful discussion. I think basically what both of us are saying is it's about the people. We've moved away from the autocratic kind of leadership. If we expect productivity and for business growth, it's important that we put our people first. We enable them to know, or we let them know, and they can trust that they are our first priority. We value what they bring to the table. We actually exhibit active listening, and we actually put their feedback into practice and try and make things comfortable for them in order for them to also be able to give of their best. Because at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line. But we need to make sure that our people are taken care of and they are a priority always. Thank you.
Thank you. It's always about the bottom line. Ebow.
Okay, so I just want to say that I appreciate the opportunity to come and share my thoughts. I mean, these are just thoughts, ideas, things that we've dealt with in the past that had worked, and we believe that if individuals are able to at least practice all the things that we mentioned, I'm sure it's go a long way to help and support them. There is something my former boss used to say, that even for HR, we always have to put the human back in HR. So it's not all about policy, it's not all about, but it's about a human being. We are dealing with people's emotions. Well, I tell my student that whatever decision we make, whatever we do in HR affects people at the levels you cannot imagine. So always look at human beings as human beings for whatever it is that you are doing, whether it's policy development, whether it's setting up your strategic objectives, whatever it is, remember you are dealing with human beings and put them first in everything that you do. Eventually, your bottom line will be given if you focus on your people. That's what I will say. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very, very much. That was very, very insightful. Wow. Someone just put in the comment section that I didn't read their question. So Marigold, we'll surely do well to answer your question. Okay, I'll just quickly read the question so that one of you touch on it, please. So she's asking, what actions can employees take when leadership focuses heavily on customer-centric strategy but overlook employee needs and well-being?
The question was answered by Maureen Jean.
Yeah.
Go down and that'll be my response. Go down and read the response from Maureen.
Okay, yes, it's true. I see the response here. So Marigold, just go down. You see the response. Someone clearly answered you and answered in detail. So okay, thank you very, very much. You have been a wonderful audience. And I would like to say a very big thank you to our panelists, Ebow, Nyamekye, Allen-Koufie, and Marianne Ocansey. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I've learned a lot on this call. It's been a little over 1 hour, but I've really, really learned a lot from providing value to your employees, to tying these kind of leadership, the people-driven performance to the leadership their KPIs and all those kind of things. I'm very, very grateful. And I think our audience have also learned a lot. Thank you so much. And without any further questions, I'd like to say bye to everybody. I'll remind us that this webinar has been proudly brought to us by the HR Certification Center, and we are a training center that specializes in HR trainings and people development and then leadership trainings as well. So if you need anything that is related to HR, just reach out to us on 0244 122 855 0244 122 855. Thank you very much, and it's bye for now.
HR Certification Center commits to a higher standard.
Why do 93% of the world's leading multinational companies prefer certified professionals? Because they tend to be committed to higher standards and ethics and maintain an informed intercultural competency. Whether you're seeking to build a career or to upgrade your HR professional career, you need to get trained and certified at the HR Certification Center today. Our experience in training and certifying HR professionals is unparalleled. We're trusted to offer a comprehensive portfolio of advanced professional credentials for the HR professionals worldwide, and today, more than 500,000 HR professionals worldwide in 125 plus countries proudly maintain our credentials as a mark of higher professional distinction. HR Certification Center. Call or WhatsApp today on 0244 122 855.